right, everybody, welcome back to Walk-Ins. Welcome, and this is a different episode because Nick's not here. I'm right now waving. He's not here. If you're on YouTube, I'm pretending to touch Nick right now, but he's not there at all. He is actually not in town this week, but it's okay. I'm able to actually come on and interview today. We have Nat Gibbs with UrgentIQ. Welcome, Nat. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's great to be on the podcast and really appreciate you having me on, Michael, and happy Friday.
Absolutely. Happy Friday, and for sure. And that reveals the back, we release things on Wednesdays, but we record on Fridays. But real quick, some of the backstory of why Nat's on here. So UrgentIQ, we'll go into details of that, but Nat has been in this world now for quite a few years in the healthcare IT world, loves technology, and then he founded UrgentIQ last year. So it's a very fresh company, very fresh software, but you're solving problems, which is fantastic. But let me ask that icebreaker question that we like to ask, at least Nick likes to ask, but it is, what's one thing that's surprising that most people don't know about you?
One thing that's a good question, Michael. I used to say in grade school I had a twin brother, but I don't think that's necessarily appropriate for this show. So I guess maybe it's that I lived in India for 3 months when I was in high school, working for a microfinance organization, helping fund entrepreneurs across the country, and it was an extremely formative experience for me, and learned a tremendous amount.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, 3 months in India. I bet there were some really cool things you learned in India while you were there for 3 months.
Yeah, an amazing amount from a cultural perspective, and also from a entrepreneur perspective.
I bet so. That's really cool. I've never been to India. I've always kind of wanted to go because it's such a fascinating country, and there's so much there, so many people there. So yeah, that's on those listings, like a country I'd love to visit, plus some others, but very cool. Well, all right, so let's talk about UrgentIQ a little bit. I mean, let's be honest, starting a new business that's only a year old, here we are, and like we're just rolling out of COVID, that's always kind of up in the air, and now you're trying to solve some problems. So kind of tell me the backstory of UrgentIQ. Where did the idea come from? Why is it around? What's it solving for us? So what's going on?
Yeah, for sure. So a little bit more background on me that'll provide some context on the founding of UrgentIQ. So I spent 5 years at an investment firm working to help grow several different outpatient healthcare services businesses, namely podiatry businesses, outpatient mental health care businesses, and ambulatory surgery centers, and also worked with several innovative and relevant to this endeavor healthcare technology businesses. And early last year, did a ton of different research on different specialties, and came to the conclusion that the urgent care industry is ripe for a new EMR.
Okay.
And I think nominally building an EMR from scratch is one, it's not the sexiest thing to do. Two, it's extremely complicated. But the motivation for this endeavor is that the incumbent EMRs are quite frankly really crippling urgent care, and 70% of urgent care stakeholders, from front office staff to MDs, folks are spending around 70% of their day in EMR systems, struggling with manual data entry, no effective automation or configurability, and several disparate systems, which have really led to painful financial outcomes in the form of missed revenue and increased costs, painful clinical outcomes, a reduced quality of care and worse patient engagement, and painful operational outcomes and significant burnout and turnover. And that's sort of what we're trying to solve with UrgentIQ.
Yeah, I was looking at your software before this call, and I love the cleanliness of the software. It's very focused. It's because I've seen the other EMRs, and it's like, okay, you built that thing in the 90s, didn't you? And you just keep adding lipstick to it, trying to make it better, but it always reveals itself a little later. Like, oh, there's that core tech that was built a long time ago. So what are some key things that your stuff is doing that the other ones just haven't figured out yet? Or, what are the things that, like, if because a lot of our audience is actually urgent care owners, or they're in their admins, they deal with an EMR, like you said, 70% of the day. They probably deal with the exact same amount, and I bet they have all those same headaches that you've been trying to resolve. So what are some key things that your software has been solving?
Yeah, I think fundamentally what we're focused on, and today it's myself. We have 5 engineers on staff, and we just brought on a head of product, and we're really over-indexing on the engineering and product front. But we're laser focused on freeing up time for the caregiver.
Okay.
And freeing up time to enable them to really do what they want to do, and that's care for the patient and interact with the patient. And we think by freeing up time, there are going to be several downstream positive implications of that, including increased revenue, lower costs, and happier stakeholders and less burnout, which is sort of a win-win-win for everyone.
Yeah. Well, when you say saving up time, how much time do you think your software is potentially saving people?
Yeah, so today, we started this company early last year, and we've built an EMR from scratch that's up and running and live with several users in around 6 months of development. And our system today is saving on average around 25 clicks per exam.
Oh, wow.
Which, ultimately is translating into around 25% of a caregiver's day back, which allows caregivers to see around 8 to 10 more patients a day, which directly translates into a 25% increase in revenue and profit. So it's material, and this is through 6 months of development. So we're fired up and super excited about what we can build and continue to iterate on to save more time over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months.
That is incredible to me that you're saving 25 an average of 25 clicks per usage essentially, and from we're digital, so we understand the click, and we understand in our world if we were more than 2 or 3 clicks for somebody from clicking on an ad to engaging and making that call or filling up that form, if it's more than 1 or 2 clicks after that, we've lost them because it took too long. And then in y'all's world, it's like, okay, so if I have to go here to do this and it took me 20 clicks to get there, why can't we just shortcut this thing? And then and I think a lot of it's because the way EMRs are built, they're that's just the way we do things, and we don't think there's a better way, and it's just the way it is. And then you're like, no, there's a much cleaner way to do this. Let's identify what they actually need. Let's skip over the parts that just seem unnecessary.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why we're super focused on urgent care only. And the thesis is really we're building a very targeted solution. 85% of the throughput comes in for the same 5 to 10 chief complaints. We're being super deliberate about how we're designing these workflows so we can really be sort of optimize and be as efficient as possible from a clicking perspective. Today, folks are averaging over 100 clicks per visit. And that's a big reason why there's a recent UCA benchmarking report. Around 50% of centers across the country are considering switching their EMRs. So there's a real problem here, and we're fired up to attack this opportunity.
That's fantastic. And I know we met. I'm curious. So we met at the Urgent Care Association in Vegas at the Vegas show. There were lots and lots and lots of urgent care doctors, owners, admins there. And I know you were demoing some of the software to them. So I'm curious, what was their initial reactions when you were like, well, check out what this can do?
Yeah, I think everyone is universally very excited largely, with the user interface, that it's extremely fast, it's extremely simple, it's extremely targeted, and it's extremely intuitive. And that's exactly what we're focused on. And I think there was a general sense of people being impressed with what we've been able to build in 6 months. When we first started this journey, we spoke to several senior execs at some of former senior execs at some of the incumbents, and they were suggesting you can't build an EMR from scratch in under 2 years. We have something that's live and up and running in 6 months. The bar to play here is pretty high, and we've reached that bar, and we're excited to continue to differentiate from here.
Well, and you're talking about building something in 6 months too, like that. Any type of software that's fully functional, that's like an MVP type of situation, in 6 months, because an EMR is like there's layers to it, and then there's compliance to it. The compliance side is a nightmare, I'm sure. But the fact that you're like, let's get this into basically an MVP in less than 6 months and get it into some users' hands and make it a beta, and let's launch this thing and go. That is super impressive, and that means that you guys are nimble, right? Like you're going to be building out. I would even say this: are there any features that are coming that's not on the platform yet, but they're like in the project list that you're working on now that's going to make a game changer for? If it's secret, we don't want to talk about it, of course. But there's anything out there that you can't wait to release?
Yeah. So just want to echo the nimbleness point. I think several of the competitors out there are, quite frankly, have robust functionality, but they're sitting on 15, 20 years of technical debt. And
technical debt's good.
Yeah, exactly. And their ability to iterate is in a way hindered by the technical debt. We're moving super fast, and we get feedback from our customer, and we have a release in 48 hours. And I think that's a significant competitive advantage. And to address your point on sort of future features, I mean, there are a bunch of things that we're super excited about. But to hit on one of them, we're releasing something called the IQ panel, which is essentially going to provide prescriptive and predictive insights and suggestions on the charting clinical documentation interface, and provide sort of real-time clinical documentation for clinicians, leveraging some pretty neat AI technology.
I was waiting for the word AI to come in.
Yeah, exactly. We know there's a lot of buzz around AI, and we recently saw the announcement about Carbon Health and their AI module. But we think we're doing something really neat on the AI side, and one of our engineers spent 7 years leading the AI team at Spotify, and he's super experienced, and he's building some really neat models that we're super excited about.
That's really cool. It's so funny because with AI, like, to me, AI is, I don't want to say snake oil, but it's like everybody can do AI, and then there's real AI, and then there's AI with quotation marks, where because we in the digital world, we interact with so many different softwares, and literally like within 1 month, they all had something pop up. We have a new AI feature. I'm like, sure you do. And even one of them was, we clicked on it and it said, sorry, we're just seeing if you have interest in AI. We'll let you know when it comes out. Like really? This is what we're dealing with now?
Exactly. It's a buzzword. There's a lot of fluff. We're taking a very practical approach, and it's really going to move the needle. And right now it's 25 clicks, and we're hoping in the next 3-6 months to get it down to a reduction of 50 clicks. And I think using some data science is going to help us get there.
Well, and I even think so. And I like how y'all's approach is with the software, where you're saying, okay, we're going after urgent cares. We know that we're playing the 80-20 rule. Like, we're taking care of that 80% of usage that we all know is there. It can handle the other 20%, but at the end of the day, we're going to make that 80% super efficient. So then you throw in AI, where, okay, let's make it predictive, where the system can figure out what they're trying to do and start to do it for them. And then they're just verifying it, essentially. Like, that's in my head like an ideal situation to a certain degree.
That's exactly right, Michael, and that's well said.
Yeah, I think I can't wait. Like, it's one of those things, I can't wait to see it come out and just kind of change the world. Because the reality is, to me, what EMR is what happens like to the trucking world. So in trucking world, everything went digital logs, and you couldn't do paper logs, and when it became law, same with EMR stuff. So like, they can't escape it. They have to do it, and they have to do it right. We actually picked up a client, I think it was about 2 years ago, and they just moved to EMR stuff. And it took me like, you're just now, like, how did you live off paper up until now? And it was one of those, the guy was like in his 70s, and he just hired a 20-something-year-old doctor fresh out of med school. And she's like, I don't know what this is. What is this paper stuff? And so it's kind of like they had to force it on them. But that's just the reality of it, because at the end of the day, we all want access to it. I mean, I'm not going to lie. As a patient, I wish there's a day, I don't know when it will come, but I wish there's a day as a patient that I can pop in my social security number into one platform, and all of my records are shown up from all of my doctors I've ever communicated with, so I don't have to tell this new doctor what's happened.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good point, and that's sort of the North Star. We're building a super interoperable platform that's going to play nice with systems across the board. And our understanding is some of the incumbent vendors are, pretty closed systems, and so
Yeah.
I think our approach, deliberately closed, because they offer, it's a deliberate business decision, because they want to own all aspects of the workflow, and they want to own the patient's data. We're taking a completely different approach and playing nice with all stakeholders, and we think, to your point, that's going to have positive implications on the ubiquity of data, and ultimately the patient experience.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Very cool. I'm loving this. So tell me, like, and you don't have to go into full pricing stuff, but competitively speaking, how are you guys lining up to your competitors out there, some of the big names out there? Obviously, if you're brand new, because just to kind of give an example, in our world, so in the digital marketing world, in terms of old technology that everybody used because we had to, it was called CallRail. It was our call tracking software. CallRail was like the end-all be-all, and it was expensive. And then enters What Converts, and What Converts uses the same back end or back rail as Twilio, and it's like half the price, and the just as good feature set. So I'm curious from y'all's standpoint, from like, your brand new software, I'm sure there's price points out there that are good. It may be customized for everybody, of course, but how are you guys comparing from that standpoint? Because I know the people that listen, they always want to, like, is it going to make me more efficient? Cool, but can I afford it? Like, is this something I can afford?
Yeah, it's a great question, and the pricing methodology is decently complicated here, as there are a bunch of different models out there, and everyone, not everyone, but a bunch of different folks out there prefer different types of models. So one way to do it is to price per encounter. One is to price monthly per provider, which is a little complicated in urgent care because there are a lot of mid-level providers. And then if you're doing the RCM, you just price as a percentage of collections. The moral of the story is here, as you rightly pointed out, we're a very young startup, and we're going to be flexible and accommodate what our prospective customers prefer. But we're coming in with a compelling price haircut, and I think our ideology and philosophy is you got to buy market share and prove the concept to start. And so I'm telling everyone who's watching this today, and feel free to tell your friends and your peers in the industry, we're committed to a 15% haircut to whatever you're paying today. So if you're saying you're paying 35, 40 grand for your EMR, we'll come in at a 15% haircut to that, and we're committed to that, and we think there's opportunity to do some interesting stuff on the pricing side, but we need to make it make financial sense for our buyers.
Nice. And I imagine too, when you do talk to potential customers, there's probably resistance. You're like, I don't want to change my EMR. Like, this sounds great, but oh my goodness, so I'm curious, from a migration standpoint, is it makes your head itch, or is it really smooth, or how does that go from when they're going from your competitor to you? What does that migration tend to look like?
Yeah, it's a great point. And I think you often hear, yeah, my EMR is a C plus, B minus, but I don't want to go through the headache of switching.
Yeah.
And what I can tell you is, we have our 5 engineers. We actually just extended offers to 3 more, so we're going to have 8 in total in the near future.
Nice.
We've built really sophisticated scripts to really solve the data migration piece. And well, I guess maybe taking a step back, when I think about onboarding and implementation, I think about data migration and training. And what we've assured our early users is from a data migration perspective, you will not lose one piece of data, and we'll commit to that, and we'll do it in an efficient and effective manner. And from a training perspective, we don't lose a lot of sleep over that, as we've deliberately architected the system to be extremely intuitive. And we've told our guys, if front office staff to MDs can't understand the system in a day or 2, we've failed. So it's a very intuitive system, and I just want to echo one more thing, that you will not lose an ounce of data, and we'll be sure to drain your AR completely, and you will not lose $1 of revenue. So I think there is this stigma about switching, but it's a 3 to 4 week process, and we have a guarantee that you will not lose data or money.
You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah.
So I like that. Very good. So here's the call to action, right? So to the people that are listening, give UrgentIQ a try. It sounds like it's a good move. I mean, and like you said, if they can't learn this in a day or so from training, then the software is not right. Yeah, and I agree, because the best software is the simplest and most intuitive software, where if it just makes sense, where your mouse is going automatically where it needs to go, and you didn't even were told what to do, it's winning. And like I said, if you go to UrgentIQ.com, you can look at some of the screenshots of the software, and it's like, okay, this is very slick and very smooth. Kind of reminds me of some of the bootstrap stuff that we've done on our side of things for like some of our internal stuff, but it's just very clean. I appreciate that a lot. But, well, very good. All right, well, Nat, is there anything else you want to bring up to the table? Because we are already at 22 minutes on the episode, which is about average. So is there anything else you want to bring up regarding UrgentIQ?
I think we covered a lot. I think we're super excited about the opportunity here, and to really make a positive difference in everyone's sort of day to day across this industry, and look forward to meeting all the viewers in person or over Zoom in the coming months and years. And Michael, want to thank you again for having us on. I think this podcast is awesome, and what you guys are doing is awesome, and it's a great conversation.
Well, we appreciate that. And what is the best way for people to reach you?
Yeah, I think visiting the website and clicking the Contact Us button is the most effective approach today, and that'll go straight to my email, and you have my word. I'll respond within an hour. I'm working 24/7 trying to build this into a big important business.
Awesome, and I will. All right, audience, let's test this theory. So if you go out to this website and you click Contact Us, if you don't get a response in an hour, send us an email at hello@patientcaremarketingpros.com and say, Nat did not do what he said he was going to do. But then it'll be a perfect, like, oh, it sounds like you want to talk to him, so let's get him connected. So
exactly.
Let's make it happen. Well, very good, Nat. Thank you for coming on today. We missed Nick today, but I think it was fine without him. I'm sure he'll listen to this later, but thank you again for coming on, and then thank you guys for taking a listen, and we'll catch you on the next one.